The first alarm wasn't a sound. It was a color. A violent, blood-red glyph that bloomed across Dr. Eris's primary atmospheric console, eclipsing the serene greens and blues of Xylos's supposedly perfect air. Then came the sound, a piercing digital scream that sliced through the sterile quiet of the research module. Eris's slender, gray fingers flew across the holographic interface, his 3 hearts thrumming a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The data streamed in, confirming the impossible. A complex, airborne organocompound, previously undetectable, saturated the local biome. His simulations, running at 1 billion calculations per second, painted a gruesome picture. For his species, the Silari, it was a hypercorrosive agent. 1 breath would cause severe respiratory distress. 2 would trigger cellular collapse. 3, total pulmonary liquefaction. It was a deatomizer for lungs. Cole, Eris shrieked. His voice thin and reedy through his comm, he slammed the emergency seals on the lab. The hiss of locking Durasteel echoing his own panicked gasps. Status. Report. Static crackled back, followed by a lazy, infuriatingly calm yawn. Easy there, Doc. What's all the ruckus? You're gonna scare the local tree frogs. Eris scrambled to the main viewport, his wide, black eyes scanning the vibrant landscape. And there he was. Cole. His human security detail stood on a small rise overlooking a valley shimmering with morning mist, his helmet resting on the ground beside him. The man was a walking relic, a slab of muscle and scar tissue from a planet classified as a barely habitable garden of evolutionary violence. And he was breathing. Not just breathing, but inhaling deeply, his chest expanding with a look of pure, unadulterated pleasure on his face. Eris felt a wave of nausea. He was watching a man commit suicide in slow motion. He hammered the comm again, his voice trembling. Cole, get inside. Now. The atmosphere is lethal. 3 breaths, and your lungs they'll be soup. Cole turned, a bemused grin spreading across his rugged features. He raised a hand, not in alarm, but in a casual wave. Over the comm, his voice was a warm, rumbling baritone, laced with an impossible amusement. Relax, Doc. It just smells like a fresh pot of dark roast. He took another deep, deliberate breath. We call that morning coffee back home. Eris refused to accept it. The data was absolute. Science was law. He forced Cole into the med bay, convinced the human was suffering from a toxin-induced euphoria, the final, blissful stage before his insides turned to slurry. He ran the pulmonary scanner, his own breath held tight in his sealed helmet, watching the monitor and expecting to see the gruesome evidence of tissue decay. Instead, the results that flashed onto the screen were a blasphemy against biology. Cole's lungs were perfect, more than perfect. They were operating at 120% efficiency, the lethal compound seemingly acting as a potent stimulant. Eris stared, his meticulous, ordered mind cracking under the weight of the contradiction. The human was not dying. The human was thriving. Their philosophical debate was violently interrupted by a deep, guttural roar from the planet itself. The module bucked like a wounded animal, throwing Eris from his feet. Red emergency lighting bathed the corridor as alarms blared a new, more terrifying song. Catastrophic structural failure. The groundquake had crippled them. The atmospheric scrubbers were offline, and the hab's internal air was slowly being replaced by the toxic paradise outside. Their only hope was a backup power core located in a supply cache miles away, deep inside the valley system where the gas was most concentrated. The descent was a journey into Eris's worst nightmare. The compound was no longer an invisible threat. It was a visible, shimmering, viridian haze that clung to the alien foliage. The air grew so thick with it that it began to corrode Eris's envirosuit, the onboard computer screaming with integrity warnings as the acidic atmosphere pitted his visor. His oxygen reserves, his only lifeline, were plummeting. Beside him, Cole seemed only to grow stronger, his senses sharper, his movements more fluid. He navigated the treacherous terrain with an unnerving confidence, his barefaced breaths deep and even. They finally found the source, a colossal, pulsating organism that looked like a cross between a flower and a lung, pulsing gently as it exhaled clouds of the deadly gas. The power core was on a ledge directly beneath its monstrous maw. Just gotta get close enough to grab it, Cole said, his voice utterly devoid of fear. Eris could only watch in horror. his own life now depending on the biology of a monster. As they approached, the giant plant thing sensed them. With a deep, subterranean groan, it contracted violently, spewing a concentrated, near-opaque cloud of the viridian gas directly at them. The wave hit Eris's suit like a physical blow. His filters overloaded and died in a screech of digital agony. The seal on his helmet hissed, and the outside air, the poison, flooded in. It was like inhaling fire and acid. His vision swam in a green haze, his lungs seizing in a spasm of pure, cellular terror. He was dying, and the last thing he would see was his own science proving him right. He collapsed, his body convulsing. Through the fog of his own demise, he saw Cole move. The human didn't retreat. He planted his feet, a low growl rumbling in his chest. Then he did the one thing that defied all logic, all sanity. He took the deepest breath of his life, his chest swelling like a barrel, and charged directly into the heart of the poison cloud. He was a biological battering ram, a force of nature against a force of nature. Eris saw him for a fleeting moment, a silhouette moving through the thickest part of the haze, every cord of muscle straining, before he grabbed the heavy power core. With a roar that shook the valley, Cole burst back through the cloud, dragging Eris's limp body behind him. The next thing Eris knew, he was waking up to the clean, sterile hum of the medbay. The habitat's life support was restored, the air pure and safe. He saw Cole leaning against a bulkhead, sipping from a water pouch, looking only mildly winded. Had a bit of a scratch in my throat there for a second, Cole mumbled, then shrugged. Eris stared, but he no longer saw a primitive soldier. He saw a biological impossibility, a creature forged in a crucible so hellish that it could breathe death and call it invigorating. He felt a profound, primal mixture of awe and absolute terror. In his final report, Dr. Eris officially reclassified planet Xylos from Paradise World to Category 4, mildly hazardous. But he added a sealed, top-secret addendum for High Command's eyes only. It was a new classification for a species, not a planet. Species, human. Planet of origin, Earth, redesignated. Class, Tin Death World. Threat assessment, Apex tier biological anomalies. Do not engage. Do not provoke. The final scene in the research module was a quiet one. Cole, whistling a cheerful, tuneless song, poured a dark, steaming liquid from a machine into a mug. It was actual coffee. Want a cup, Eris? He offered. The Silari flinched violently, scrambling back 2 full steps as if Cole had just offered him a loaded plasma rifle. Cole simply blinked, took a sip, and sighed contentedly.